Hi everybody and welcome to SHOWstudio. This is the last head-to-head of the season. We're now going to be discussing Paris, again, as tradition once, with the gorgeous Stephen Jones.
Bonjour.
Bonjour Stephen. Ça va?
Oui, ça va très bien, merci.
Good. So we might want to do this in French. Okay, so
but
Paris.
does that mean we have to do Milan in Italian as well?
Yeah, well, we didn't.
Oh God,
Dal didn't allow me to
nobody would
do it
understand.
in. No,
Yeah.
exactly.
I only know fashion Italian.
So we've done it all. We discussed the whole month except Paris. So as you know, it's the end of the
finale.
month. Yeah,
really the
it's
finale.
a big finale because I mean there's a lot going on in Paris,
Yep.
and in times like this one that are very polarized and divisive, and you know, when people want to stand up and have a say, where I guess that the designer, they understood that you cannot do fashion for its sake. And as you were saying in our London edition of the head-to-head, people want to use their voice and their fame and their platform to say something, and that was very clear, I think, in Paris, in different ways. You know, people that played on optimism to fight the gloom and doom, and people that played
sustainability or whatever they want to say. And funnily enough, this show was about fashion, but also about respect.
We want to say people what we're talking about.
So this is Dries van Noten show.
So one of the greatest moments of the season was the collaboration, I mean the show of Dries van Noten, that actually was a collaboration with the great Christian Lacroix, that, as you know, has been away from fashion for many years.
Nobody knew that.
Yeah.
This was the thing. Nobody knew that. And I spoke to various people and they said, when the first girl came out with the feather, ostrich feather in her hair, it was, this is not very Dries.
Yeah, exactly.
This looks, one particular fashion journalist said to me, oh my God, it looks as though he's sort of very strongly influenced by Lacroix. And it was, in fact, only at the end.
And then more and more Lacroix came out.
In fact, only at the end did they really know what was going on.
So honestly, they didn't know at the beginning of the show? It wasn't written anywhere?
I believe it was not written.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
I
thought
don't know,
that
maybe
they
it was
found
written on
out
the press
then.
release, but the people I was speaking to hadn't particularly read it. It was not communicated, and then it was understood.
There's
but
so
Dries
many
is
things.
very, very good at keeping a secret. I know some people who were actually with him maybe 10 days before the show, and he didn't let it. It's, you know, in a funny, I know it's our tiny little fashion world, but it's the best story within the fashion week was with
but
this
he's right,
collaboration.
because we all know that a secret is really a secret if you don't tell anybody, not even the people you trust. But I need to talk about this show because not only the surprise, and I do love the idea of showing the world that collaboration is good. You know, this competition where everything has to be secret, where we have to mistrust everybody. Now it's really the time to show that two great creative people that are so different in a way can get together and produce this. And this is probably close to one of the best shows of the whole season.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think people...
And you can see both. You see both hands. It's not one cannibalizing the other. It's really both hands working together and creating something that it's twice as good.
So I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall with the two designers.
And hear the gasp? Oh, with them.
With the two designers. And, you know, when Dries says, let's do this in green, and Christian says, let's do it in red, who wins?
But
do
you know,
they do a red and green check?
Actually, it's very interesting you say that, because I read an interview, it's quite some time ago now, of them both discussing how it happened. So Dries called Christian and said, I always loved your work, would you like to do a show together? And Christian said, well, yeah, okay, I'll come to see you. And then he went to Antwerp in summer, I think, or in May, and they said, yeah, we can do it. And they didn't even decide some rules. And then they started bringing ideas on the table, and it was so easy.
Yeah, well, it's, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for those who are younger, that people don't know that Christian...
You know him personally, I guess.
A little bit. I know Christian. I knew him since the 80s. But he was this great designer. He was a designer at Patou. He reinvigorated the haute couture business. Then
he had a stance at Pucci, remember?
Yeah, and then Bernardano stepped in and
Okay.
created his own house. And during that time, he was also the designer of Pucci for a certain amount of time. But then
in the late 90s,
failed.
Yeah.
I mean, he still has quite a big business. He does.
He does costumes for the opera and theatre.
Costumes for opera. He does uniforms for Air France. He does interior fabrics. He does interior wallpapers. He does furniture.
But he doesn't have a brand anymore.
He doesn't do fashion. And in a way, he's done it extremely well. And does he really want to do it anymore and start up his own fashion label? No, I think he's got past that point. So, of course, when Dries comes along and you think, well, even though you said, yes, they're very different, but certain things join them, like their use of colour, pattern, as we see here.
God, so
pink and turquoise with leopard, and I love that big outfit, multicoloured with a white little sort of t-shirt thing, the strapless t-shirt, the embroidery,
the big
opulence.
gown.
It's so funny.
With the tank top.
This pink cape. This is sort of pink coat. It's sort of. I mean, I know that Pier Paolo also loves Lacroix. And it's weird that everybody who knows fashion knows that there's been this Lacroix feeling bubbling up now for 2 or 3 years. And then suddenly, Dries catches him.
Well, I mean, one thing that you expect from designers is that they know the zeitgeist, is that they know what's relevant right now. And it is true that, with the clashing of prints, the return of strong colors and the big volumes, Lacroix became the reference again, I mean, but this, I love it because you can really see the hands of both, but it's not, they really designed it together and each one put their take on it, and it's really one of the best shows in a long time, not only for Dries van Noten, but it's a great moment for fashion. And the message behind this is fantastic.
And certainly by the end of Fashion Month, because it is a month, and this is week 4, that all the fashion world is quite bored by the whole world. And then suddenly everybody, boom, and everybody knows why they love fashion and why they're in it. And here's Dries doing a train, Dries doesn't really show trains, I don't think, but a fantastic show.
And as you were saying, when we were together, we were discussing London last time. One thing that I like, it's so important, the message behind the actual collection and the actual clothes, that they don't need anything else. Good lighting, wide catwalk, there's no set, there's no...
And Dries is the master of sets. Remember when he did that show and it was back down a dining table and it was all set for dinner and the girls came out? I mean, extraordinary, but this was completely plain and simple.
It's just the clothes. The message is behind the clothes. And then when they came out together at the end, it was like an explosion of happiness. Anyway, great moment of, quite at the beginning, Dries is rather at not the real, it's quite early in Paris, so it was really good start. I mean, this last look is just spectacular.
Great. Do we see them
Shall we wait until they come out? Yeah, because that
need a round of applause for
deserve,
Yay.
Celebration. Well done, bravo.
Like, oh my God, that's Christian.
Yeah, and they look fantastic together. Look, they even dressed together for this. I think Dries was very generous in doing this.
But the complete opposite was
Balenciaga. We said it together. But also a great moment, a great statement, a great moment, almost, how can I explain? It was, it was psychedelic. I mean, this parliamentary blue, Europe Parliament, and the girls going around, and his fashion, his take on fashion, his take on Balenciaga, and until those incredible last looks.
And this is,
was
the money of Balenciaga as well. Look at those curtains. And there was something very much about, the Oval Office, or...
It's really the European Parliament.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the
center of power.
For those who are film buffs in Dr. Strangelove, there's the operations room, this huge room. And it was all about power dressing. And it's funny how
it was
people
all
can
about
say,
power dressing.
17th century Italian, or space age, or, based on a book or something. So the idea that something is based on parliament and based on power, of all the different things to capture onto, is quite unusual and very difficult to do, but somehow he made it look convincing.
He's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's brilliant, and I also think that that was his first show after he announced that he's going to focus on Balenciaga and concentrate on Balenciaga. You know,
what's going to happen to Vetements now?
I don't know. You know, people were saying at the beginning when he took over Balenciaga that you couldn't distinguish the brands, and contrary to what we said during our Milan, our London head-to-head that Jonathan Anderson did. The distinction between his own brand, J.W. Anderson, and Loewe. It's true that Demna couldn't really detach himself because he's so creative, and that's what he thinks fashion
He hasn't
should
let
be.
go of the shoulder pads, has he?
He hasn't, but now he's doing it for Balenciaga with the power of Balenciaga, with the money of Kering, where he probably can explore more in-depth fabrics and designs and everything. And,
Yeah, sure.
And I think that was a strong statement and quite courageous.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting what they started with, and then the show developed as it went along, and it became much more diverse, different sorts of silhouette, and then it ended up with those really extraordinary dresses at the end.
The bell.
Yeah. I mean, there was a big gold one, and there was the black velvet
Yeah, can
one.
we show them exactly to the end?
Oh.
Also, because what's interesting to say here, if people don't know, is that those dresses that we will see in a second becomes quite normal dresses. The structures that keep the skirt looking like bell jars or whatever they are, and the big epaulette can be taken off.
Yeah, great
so
casting,
people
by the
can-
way, in this.
Always.
Really
I
good
must say,
hair.
always.
Yeah, yeah.
He always has quite amazing casting. But those dresses were a gulp moment. I mean, you could feel it in the air, and people were like, wow, look at this. It's really a bell.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like Goi Pei, you know, the designer who did
I know.
Rihanna's.
I think more
But this
modern.
is much better. This has got more.
It's
movement.
more modern. I mean, it's true. Goi Pei did that beautiful Rihanna yellow dress, but the modernity of this, it's something different. Look how it moves. Look at the movement. That's extraordinary. That's very good craftsmanship as well.
Well, they have fantastic workrooms. It is Balenciaga. I mean, I know they've done T-shirts with Balenciaga print over the front.
Yeah, but then they've done this.
They do it couture as well.
And the beauty of that top, of that blue dress or the red dress, where it's so close to the body and so modernly so, and then
I think it's
that
jersey.
big skirt.
I actually think it's.
It is jersey, I think, this one, yeah.
It's Panay velvet. It's Panay velvet jersey.
And look how beautiful it looks from the top.
Yeah.
So that was another great moment.
So moment in fashion.
Of Paris,
Yeah.
and in fashion, and it was quite amazing because, again, as you said, you know, the opposite of what we've seen with Dries and Christian, and yet a strong political step.
With Dries, there was something very celebratory about it, and something very optimistic and wonderful. And that was much more. Balenciaga was much more postmodern.
Political also, no?
Yeah, in a way, but it's an interpretation of something. And the reason that Dries's and Christian's show was there's something which was very honest and authentic about it.
You think that this is not as honest? I'm interested.
No,
I don't know.
because it's not. No.
Oh no.
This collection's all about the lie, isn't it? I always thought it was about the great lie of politics.
Okay, but it's an honest take on it by the designer.
Yeah. Wow, you're so postmodern.
It is actually.
But, this is about the lie of clothing, the dishonesty of clothing, and how people present themselves.
Like in a theatre play, in a game of characters?
Yes, which is, if we look at what's going on in Westminster at the moment, isn't that what's going on?
Let's not go there. Yeah, that's very interesting. No, I didn't see it like that, but I hear what you say, and the more I look at it, the more I think it's really one of his.
I mean, that's why he's a genius designer, because he can examine that lie.
Do you think Vetements is going on without him? Do you think it was really a collective where it was just the face of it, but the ideas were
I think
by everybody?
I think the ideas were for everybody, and there was the face of the brand, and he was the face of the brand.
Interesting to see what's going on there, what's happening. Yeah. Another great moment was...
In the pouring rain.
Oh, so this is Marine Serre, right? Yeah, let's talk about Marine Serre. She opened Paris in the pouring rain, and it was really a post-apocalyptic stance on the environment, and I think the rain was appropriate, they would say in Paris, because it made it even more. I think she's very good. I think she is, like we said for Molly in London, I think this designer is going far.
She's got a very strong point of view, as long as the finances hold out.
I don't know about this. I think she's doing well, no?
Yeah.
But look at that black look with the dog kept at short leash and the rain. I mean, it's fierce. It's very powerful.
No, I think this was sort of extraordinary. I don't know her work enough, but I mean, I know sort of slightly what she stands for, and I think from her came the idea of recycling and sustainability, all those modern values. What's interesting that those ideas really have been appropriated by so many other people.
Yeah, but she was always very clear about it. I mean, the young generation of designers, they're more, I mean, they don't do it for marketing or because someone tells them you have to, otherwise we disappear. They grew up in an almost post-apocalyptic world, and they grew up in this.
Great hats, by the way.
Yeah. You don't have anything to do with
that, right? No, never met her, and these are wonderful hats.
Would you like to collaborate with Martine Serre?
Well, she seems to be doing very well already.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I remember once meeting Christian Lacroix many years ago, and a mutual friend of ours saying, "Oh, you two should collaborate together." And Christian said, "No, I never want to collaborate with Stephen Jones." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because the hats are the one part that I really enjoy doing, and I don't want to give that to anybody else."
That's quite a good point. Yeah. But Martine Serre, well done. I think she's got a great future ahead.
Yeah, and Anne-Sophie Wilson modelling that.
And so we have to hope that, as I say, the finances are following, because this is something, especially for Paris, that deserves to be.
Yeah.
And it does stand out. I mean, she won awards. She's been noticed immediately after her first collection.
And in a way, to be a young designer in Paris is very difficult. It's like being a young designer in Milan. People, how do you compete with LVMH and Kering and all this?
Well, she does it pretty well.
But she actually does, because she's good.
Another one who I think this year did a great job, and before going in there, another one who did a great job was Haider Ackermann. I mean, he's always been one of the favorites of the press. He's always been considered a great designer, but I thought he was a little bit, not dormant, but we didn't really take care of him.
Well, I think he had
This collection was so good.
Well, he's had quite a tough time, because he was the designer at Berluti.
Well, he was the commodity of, he was used
as
a bridge.
He was doing a great thing there, and then
for 2 seasons
he left, and it's a little bit the same situation, for example, that Marc Jacobs was in when he left Vuitton. And now what? But actually, what you do is you go, now what? And it's you just rely on your talent. And in the same way that Marc is showing great collections now, this was such a spot-on collection.
But Marc has been at Vuitton long enough to become Marc Jacobs and to be turning around a brand, while poor Haider, I mean, he was put at Berluti because they needed someone to cover for help me, designer of Berluti, sorry guys. Anyway, to cover for 2 seasons before they could move around, put Kim on Dior and put, come on. Can someone give me the name of the designer of Berluti? Anyway, sorry, audience. Anyway, let's move on. So Haider, he did one of his best collections in a long time. He's obviously happy. He gave us this explosion of colors, of shapes. It's very modern. It's very him.
And technically, it's so difficult to do those shapes meandering over a woman's body. is really difficult because it has to be perfectly fitted, perfectly, the construction has got to be made perfectly on the inside.
Yes, it was probably it was one of my favorite collections of Paris because, you know, I mean, Claire at Givenchy did a very beautiful collection, but it was very beautiful clothes. There was nothing surprising for me, whilst I always loved what Haider was doing, but as I said for other men's design, sometimes it was a bit complicated, this was straightforward and it was really good and really forward and really interesting and full of ideas.
I think one of the difficulties has been with Haider's collections, especially when you see it in photograph, is that he would use a lot of fabric in a garment. And of course, in the still photograph, you don't see how that fabric is flowing around the body. So things tended to look heavy, whereas in real life, they were actually much lighter.
Yeah, and that's important.
And in fact, here, there's enough tension within the clothes. You know, there's like a narrow trouser, there's enough sort of discipline within the volume that it's understandable in the photograph too. But say, for example, if we look at this dress on the left, which is black with one green strap and one pink on the other side, that is so masterfully done, it's extraordinary.
And the combinations of color, and it's so elegant and it's so beautiful. I don't know, it was really, and it's very modern, you know, and it's very Haider Ackermann. And I sound like a broken record, but I like it when I can recognize the signature of a great designer in their collections. And this is obviously one.
Rick Owens.
Yeah, I was going to talk about Rick Owens and his optimism.
Because they're sort of cousins, and I always think of them as being cousins in the design world, yes. Because they do their own thing. They don't follow trends in a way. They're a bit left field. They have their own very individual voice. As you can see here with the crazy hats.
Do you have anything to do with the hats of Rick Owens?
No. Michelle Lamy, his wife, is a great client of mine. But no, I don't work on the collection. I mean, maybe one day we will.
Let's talk about Rick, that usually he's the one post-apocalyptic, then, you know, quite pessimistic. He was, first of all, very happy, so he gave us this
such a
triumph of and also but let's talk about the set, you know, the bubbles and the, you know, these people coming out dressed in black and you don't know what to expect, and then suddenly they lift these things that they're holding and it's bubbles, like this kids game, you know. So that was very bubbly and very happy. And then the collection comes out and it's a homage to his Mexican origins. His mom's is half Mexican or completely Mexican. Yeah. And he does it with this literal hat that you can only, you know, understand what it is. But then he's talking about the wall, which people have moved on from, but it's like now, no, I want to talk about immigrations and the walls between the States and Mexico. And the clothes are extraordinary.
Yeah. I mean, before I was saying about how, yes, you do have influences, but the influences don't matter, it's what you come out with at the end. And for me, yes, I know it was about Mexico, but when I look at this, I look at a crazy dress with a jacket tied around the waist, with a pair of mirror sunglasses, with a bald front on the hairdo and a wig on the back. It's this crazy, wonderful world, which is almost like Star Trek or something.
It is a little bit Star Trek. It's very futuristic.
I've always thought sort of ancient Aztec and Star Trek was sort of the same thing.
Yeah, but then you can also see his mastery, where he can give you something from the past. I mean, historically from the past, and then make it look futuristic. But you know, but again,
he always does a great show. You know,
but he also can recognize, even if here it's a little bit more colorful. I would never put gold and Rick Owen in the same sentence, and yet here we are. But then it is very Rick Owen.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually sort of metallic yellow, which is even harder than gold.
Is it?
Yeah.
Why is it? I mean, to sell?
Acid metallic yellow is definitely a point of view.
And those pink tops, and it's like, yeah, there's some happiness here. He has put color into his blacks, because if you go to see his collection in the store, it's really very much white, black, and and off-white and grey,
Absolutely.
which I love.
Yeah,
and some beautiful
but I'm
beigey
sure there'll be some gold pieces in there.
Suddenly there's gold
and a few
pink
crazy hats.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Talking about crazy, let's go to Thom Browne, who is someone you work with. So I was a little bit skeptical this year about this Maison Serre, but then I thought, is this him making fun of the White House behaving as Versailles? And then I asked you, and you said to me that I was right.
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely about Marie Antoinette.
Yeah,
and
but mixed with...
But I mean, from
America.
a real fashion point of view, I mean, I think that in a way the fashion world would be very interested to see a very straightforward Thom Browne show full
beautiful
of
jackets
great suits that sell everywhere, all over the world. But he's really not interested in doing that. I mean, I know him personally. And this, in fact, this entire collection was made from seersucker. Even the floor was made from seersucker, and all the chairs were covered in seersucker as well, which is this cotton, sort of slightly bubbly fabric.
Why is that? Why was that? Because the collection was made with that, and so he wanted to do the
he
set
just wanted to do the entire thing out of seersucker. And so he created this extraordinary court and sort of garden. But as you can see,
those pastel color are just extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, it's all quite out there. But the crazy thing, you can see now that the flowers are all made from seersucker too. So his attention to detail is fantastic.
Yeah, it's Thom Browne. So, but tell us about those Martian headpieces.
Little Martian headpieces.
You know, like we designed green Martians with the antennas. Are they flowers?
Swim hats made out of the same fabric. Yeah.
They're supposed to be flowers, right?
And then they're flowers on the end. And then when the other girls came out, we did little boaters on sticks, almost like parasols or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, Thom Browne, he's the only, a little bit like Rick Owens, he's the only person doing that, the only person who's interested in really doing that preppy look. Even though, preppy is very much an American thing, but nobody shows that in Paris.
No, and I think Thom Browne, he's the master of modern, desirable preppy. But I wouldn't put preppy and Rick Owens together.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
The complete opposite.
Exactly, it's probably at the other side of the spectrum. I just think that Thom Browne sometimes, for me, it's more difficult to understand. It's not a criticism. I mean, like there's a puto in the middle, peeing over, I guess, the White House. I don't know why I see that. That's the whole political middle finger. But, I just think that his clothes are so beautiful, when then you go to Dover Street Market and have a look at the collection, or to even his store here in Dover Street.
When we were talking last week about London and about
I think it doesn't need all of that.
When you look at Thom Browne really is a luxury brand. Extraordinary.
Totally. Yeah. But when you were, because we saw each other at the Sarban when he was interviewed by the great Tim Blanks, and even Tim, who knows him very well and is a great fashion critic, couldn't take out of Thom what he wanted. He was like trying to, make him talk about what's behind and the meaning of things. And Thom kept saying, no, it was just an idea. Oh no, they're just clothes. And then you've got these. So you know him well, help me understand, because sometimes I'm like, don't make me feel I'm not clever enough to understand it, because I do love your clothes and I understand what you're doing, but then, am I making sense? The conceptuality goes a little bit beyond what I want to.
Yeah, I think, yes, he is an artist, and it's a very private thought how he wants to formulate something. And the clothes, yes, he does the clothes, but in fact, the clothes are what clothes he shows in a runway presentation is informed by the presentation and the concept
and not
of the
vice versa.
Yeah.
Okay.
The concept of the presentation will come first, and then the clothes will fit into that. Very much that way around.
So it means that his collection starts from, this is the concept, and set designer, this is my
I mean,
brief.
even it
now
might
I make
be
the collection that fits.
Even it might come from the choreography. I've seen it. And then the set, and then the clothes will come to fit that.
So what does it tell you about the hats? Does it tell you like Marie Antoinette, or does it tell you what's your brief? It's one word, it's a whole discussion, it's...
I don't know, you need to ask him. But Tim tried to, and sometimes I have done, and I have said, Tom, why don't you do a simple show? And he said, well, I love to do a performance. And that's what he's doing. And is sort of his investment and what he spends his money on. Is entertaining.
I honestly do not mind that, because we just talked about Balenciaga, which was obviously a performance, because, we talked about Dries, who in a different way did a performance, gave us a performance, or I want to talk about Margiela briefly, because we cannot do Paris without mentioning another great collection by John.
Margiela and Valentino as well, we have to.
Yeah. Let's start from Margiela, and sorry I cut my Thom Browne's reasoning here, but because probably I'm becoming a little bit not clear. I will think about Thom Browne's again. Margiela...
To be continued.
To be continued. And also because you know him so well that I'm trying to get out what we couldn't get out of him during the interview.
But designers' method of communication is fashion, is the clothes they produce, not what comes out of their mouths necessarily. Sometimes designers like to explain things, sometimes they don't. I mean, for example, John doesn't do interviews, and he doesn't come out at the end, apart from his podcast,
which is incredible. I mean, he gives everything.
Yeah.
He explains. I mean, of course, he explains. He doesn't explain everything.
This is the best walk in Paris, by the way.
Yeah. But he gives us a lot of what goes on on his mind, and I think from when he started doing the podcast to this one, there's such a big fil rouge. I mean, there is this link about a man in his late 50s who's understanding what's going on, who's talking to the young people, and I love that.
Yeah.
And I see it in his fashion, because there's the John, great designer and great, couturier, but there's also the John man who atoned for his sins and got closer to the grassroots and what people want. And I think he's doing an extraordinary job. Yeah. And his collection are going better and better. And we just read that Renzo Rosso signed him on, and Margiela is growing.
Okay, in other John news, two really enchanting books have come out just very, very recently. One by Kerry Taylor, who has the auction house, incredible auction house. She's written a book about John, which literally details every single collection and the name of the collection and who worked on it, etc., etc. And that just
from his beginning.
Yeah, and including him in the beginning, really in London and at college, all the way through to his latest collections from Margiela, all the way through Dior, Pret-a-Porter, and Haute Couture. It's amazing. And then there's another book by Robert Ferrer, who was one of the first backstage photographers of any shows at all.
Yeah, I think I heard about that one.
Yeah, and that's wonderful backstage photographs.
Oh, backstage, so it shows what we don't see.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think John Galliano is on fire, and it's great because we can expect better and better and more and more. Another 2 minutes before closing, and I have to say, we say every season that Valentino gave us a great show, great emotions, but what I think needs to be said here is about the first looks, where he managed to make something as humble in a way, as everyday, like white cotton, into, manipulated it almost in a couture way. Yeah. And he made the first, 10 looks of the collection look just extraordinary. Yeah.
And it was a complete surprise because everybody thinks, it's cotton, joyous color and everything, and then suddenly it was about simplicity and elegance. And people often say to me, do you like new materials? Well, yes, I do, but if you want the perfect white is white cotton.
And it's so easy to do white cotton like this. And he said it, and he said, I wanted to show that you do pret-a-porter, so ready to wear, with a material which is cotton that's used for t-shirts, but you can work it in an interesting way and make it into more elaborate looks. And I thought, this collection is very beautiful as usual, but that white cotton was quite extraordinary. So that was another great moment, and there were other great moments in Paris, but once again, kudos to Pierpaolo Piccioli, right?
Yeah. You know, he did again, a great collection. And what was wonderful, I don't know if you saw the news a couple of days ago, that also he did a show in Beijing, which again was extraordinary. And that was absolutely a riot of colour. I love these prints, by the way, these Rousseau inspired prints of multicoloured and tropical and fun, and it's just a great collection.
I mean, it's great. These are less appealing to my taste, but that doesn't matter. You know, what I love is that he dares and he moves on and he uses. I mean, everybody now has done long sleeves and pockets in dresses, and that comes from Pierpaolo Piccioli. So he's a real trendsetter. I mean, he's moving the trends, or I mean the styles forward, and it's very chic. It's a very chic woman, and I would like to say that one thing that comes out from Paris, and we haven't mentioned the Louis Vuitton show that closed the month, and it was very interesting, and I also think that Nicolas was in a better shape than in past collection, and it was a little bit nostalgic, but not too much. And I must say that these guys are really pushing the boundaries of fashion, but one thing that remains of these months is that glamorous is back, and beauty is there, and elegance, and accessories, and freedom of dressing up. And it's really the definite death of street and sportswear, and thank God for that.
And somehow fashion, crazy and ridiculous as though it is absolutely such an exciting thing to watch. People's appearance and the messages that they send to each other by that appearance are continually and eternally fascinating.
Very good words to end our months of Head to Head. Please do not forget to go on YouTube, watch our series, leave us comments. We love to hear from you, and we now say goodbye until next season. Bye-bye.
Bye.